Good morning, everybody. Mark here with Zoot. I want to talk to you guys today about some tubeless install tips and tricks to kind of help you guys get set up with your IRC tubeless tires. That's a team sponsor. Tubeless is, there's pretty controversial. There's many pros and cons to tubeless. I think most people are a little hesitant to learn something new, but hey, there are a lot of people out there that still don't know how to change inner tube tire. So I'm here to do a quick video, tell you guys what I've learned, and let's try to mount a tubeless tire. So things you'll need: rim tape. This is muck-off rim tape. What this does is it's different than your normal rim tape, and it keeps this airtight seal on the rim side of your wheel between your tire and your rim. Helps keep the air and the sealant in. I'm a big fan of this stuff. Pretty good. And the one thing I've learned that's really easy to set up is every time you take your tire off and you're trying to remount it, replace the rim tape. It's super cheap. Way to go. Tubeless valves. These things, you get them off Amazon. Muck-Off makes a pretty good one. They're with a removable valve core. That's key. One tire lever. I'm going to try to do it with 0 tire levers. Let's see what we can do. This is a valve core tool. What this does is it just makes it easier to remove the little valve core to input the sealant with this syringe. So let's get started. What I'm going to do is start some tape. And this tape is pretty elastic. What I do is I start where the valve hole is, which is right here, where the valve goes through. And I want to overlap this tape a little bit. So I start it pretty, maybe 3 inches past where it's supposed to go. And you kind of want to just easily stretch it out so you don't have too many bubbles. All around the rim. And I didn't bring, weak amount of tape. Let's try the new stuff. Where's the hole? There's the hole. Okay, let's try this again. This stuff I kind of just have a stock. Of it, so I'm constantly using it. It's not that expensive. There are few different brands that people tend to like. I found this Muck-Off stuff works really well, and I'm also a fan of the Muck-Off ceramic dry lube. So that kind of got me into this. Stands also makes a really good tape, which is good. So here's the hole right at 12 o'clock, so I'm going past it a couple inches and I'm overlapping that first layer, because generally when you lay that first layer down, there might be a little adhesion problems between the first and second layer and the wheel, so you want to make sure you got enough space on there that it's tight. That's probably not the way to do it, but I don't have my scissors. And I messed it up. Grab some scissors. Back in business. It's a hot day here in Southern California. I'm sweating already. It's in the morning. It's pretty rad. In my office slash garage. And what I do is I'll find the hole, okay, which is right here, and I'm going to prep it so the valve could go through super easily. Just poke it. And the cool thing about, so what this valve is, you know, just like the inner tubes that come with the valves that come on the inner tubes that you guys are used to, it's just a valve with a removable valve core. So this is where you, obviously, it's hollow. If you could see that, it's hollow. And if you're not using a new valve core, over time, the sealant could kind of muck up in there and get a little coagulated and hard. So what I always do is, every time I change my tire, I make sure this thing is nice and clean. I'll stick like a piece of wire through it or something to clean it out, just to make sure there's no residual gunk in there. And then also when I leave my bike, especially if I don't get to ride for a little bit, I don't leave the sealant pooling at the bottom so it doesn't stick in there. I always put the valve at 12 o'clock just so it's free and clear. So I'll poke the valve through. And it comes with a little grommet, little rubber gasket for the outside rim side. And you put the little locking nut. So this is kind of important, and depending on your rim, it could be a problem. Different rim, the shapes of the rims, if it's not that wide or what have you. You could get some air leakage, which I might have because I didn't put a little dab of goop. Sometimes I put like a little, kind of like an automotive gasket, just a little glob right there, super simple to help the seal. So we'll see. But I got new tape on there, so actually, now that I'm saying that, let's shoot for success here, and do it right the first time. So I use this stuff. It's called Hylomar, and I mean this tube is probably 15 years old. It's from back when I was a mechanic in my previous life, and it's not really like a silicone gasket. It's not as permanent as that. It's just like, it's just gunk. You could get it at any auto parts store, Amazon. Basically what it'll do is I just put a little gunk of that in there, help the seal. Alright, screw this bad boy back on. And this is on my gravel bike. The setup would be the same for your road wheels. And the cool thing about this is, you know, when you're running tubeless, like right now on my road bike, I'm actually running 32 millimeter tires. So most of you guys are probably used to running, I mean, old school is like 23s. I mean, really old school is 21 millimeter super skinny tires. 23s are kind of they were the norm for a while, especially on triathlon bikes. And with the new disc brakes, all this new technology coming out, the trend is wider. Wider is better, gives you better grip. Better cushioning, all this good stuff. And if you have a wider tire, you can put more air and lower pressure. So on my gravel bike, I'm currently running 50 psi, and my road bike I'm running about 55 psi, which is pretty cool. And these are rotational direction. Let's make sure we put these on the right way. These are the IRC Boken 40s. These bad boys are awesome. They're really good. Really great gravel tire. Super flat, and I apologize for my son. He's wigging. He'll just wig for a little bit longer. Let's mount this thing real quick. It's like, let's just try Kenny Bell status right here. Let's see if we could be as successful as Kenny on my first try with no compressor. Now when you're mounting these tires, normally with a regular tube tire, you would mount with the valve side first. You would put the tire on the valve side first. With tubeless tires, the trick is to mount on the opposite side. So you want the tire to sit in the little rim valley. And it'll give you a little extra space depending on the rim tire combo. Some of the tolerances are different. So you want to get as much space as you can. If it's hard, I bet you these ones will be pretty easy to mount. Look at that. Almost no lever required. And I have gloves on, so that's making it harder. Alright. Mount it up. So check this out. Super important when you're mounting these tires. I'll just take these off, they're doing nothing. Except for getting my hands sweaty. Okay. So here's your rim profile, right? If you guys could see this gap right here. Now, with tubeless wheels, the goal is to, when you're mounting them, to get both the beads kind of sitting inside this tube, kind of like a car tire. So when you put the air in it, it'll pop out and seat the bead. There's a little hook on the tire, and there's a little hook or no hook on some wheels on the rim, and so really the pressure is going to keep the tire right on. So when I mount it, I first kind of squeeze the tire. You want to make sure it's obviously surrounding the valve. You want to make sure, like this, it's not surrounding the valve. You want to make sure the valve is, or else you'll just get air blowage. Bro. There we go. And make sure it's surrounding the valve, obviously, and then everywhere else. And let's give this a shot. Now, most people use compressors. I do not have a compressor. I'm super low budge. So let me see if I could do it with my floor pump. Zero success. Let's see. There we go. You're gonna look for a pop. You hear that noise? Not my kid screaming. Now if you ever got your tires installed at a tire shop, you'll hear that when the tire gets seated to the bead. Really what we're trying to do right here is put enough pressure in. These max are 60 psi, so I'm going to go all the way to 60. And make sure it's nice and set up. Easy peasy, as my daughter would say. So right now there's no sealant in here. It's just the tire on the wheel. Now the cool part about this is tubeless, the chances of getting a flat are way diminished. Of course you're going to have those times when you have a super bad gash or something that leaves you stranded, but as you can see, putting the tire on is just as easy as putting a regular tube tire on, so you could carry a tube for that situation if you need to. Most of the time, if you get those little shards of glass that work their way into the rubber, most of the little goat heads, those will patch themselves with the sealant. Now what I'll do is I'll let the air out. And once the bead is set, it's set. You're good until you break it. So I let the air all the way out. I take the valve core all the way out. Still a little residual in there. Here comes the messy part. I take some Stan's tire sealant, give it a nice shake, and I'm using this little syringe to help put it in, make it not messy. And the cool thing about this is, you know, with tubeless you'll find yourself not getting as many flats or tire changes, so you may be running for months on the same sealant, and depending on weather conditions, where you live, how hot it is, the life of the sealant may depend on that. So what I found is I just every, I don't know, 2 months, let's say, because I've had, like my road tires right now, I've had them mounted for 8 months and I haven't had to change them, 0 flat. So what I do is every couple months I'll deflate the tires, I'll stick this valve in, suck some of the old sealant out and put new sealant back in. And most of the tires, you know, good rule of thumb is 2 ounces is pretty good. So it's right to the top of this thing. Man, I'm out of it. I'm like out of breath, hot, sweaty. You see that? I just insert this little syringe into the valve and slowly, I bet you some of it will come out. There's like back pressure and physics, all this stuff that I don't understand. So sometimes just letting it burp a little bit helps. Now, fresh sealant. I'm going to take the valve, put this bad boy back in. Pump it up, you're ready to go. So, guys, IRC, they are our team partner. They're going to be running some super cool deals for you guys, some special extra incentives on, I believe, their 25 and their 28 millimeter road tires. And also they do have tube type tires as well if you don't have a tubeless setup wheel. And so if you guys have bought a bike recently or a new QR, most of the wheels that come with these new bikes are tubeless compatible already. So you just read the instructions, read the rim. You might have to replace the rim tape, which you just saw me do, which is not that big of a deal. And just get comfortable. The more you guys do it, the easier it will become. My first few mounting attempts was horrible. I went to the gas station, I was using air compressors and all that jazz, and but you kind of learn a little bit about it, and once you guys are riding tubeless, you'll find that it's awesome. It's the way to go. I'm never going back. Most of the pros are now going tubeless. They're converts. In a race day situation, when we ever get back to racing, chances are if you guys have a catastrophic failure, your race is done anyway, but the tubeless will greatly help you keep those small cuts and those flats to a minimum. And that's it. Super easy. Don't be afraid. Try tubeless and check out IRC. And also, if you guys are interested, I know I just saw an email from Brianna at QR. They're offering some extra incentives on their other brands as well. Obed, which is their gravel mountain. They have a really low price point gravel bike, and then Lightspeed. And if you guys are big money and super fancy and want to get like the Rolls Royce of gravel bikes, their Ultimate Gravel is unreal. That thing's pretty sick. If I could afford it, I would be having one right now. So get out there, ride, explore new roads, road gravel try. We love you. Team Zoot, signing off.